They said don't fight the system. They said stay quiet.
They were wrong. Lock in. We are exposing what so many have failed to. We are gonna show you what bar attorneys have hidden from all of us. Hundreds of thousands of children and twice that of parents have been lied to and walked down the road of termination. It's the death penalty. We're all of the protesters, the ones who fight for the rights of prisoners, dogs, illegal immigrants. Why aren't you coming to the aid of our children and families? Right here in America, every day a child per minute is kidnapped. And no one cares. We fight alone until today. CPS punishers mount up. Here comes the CPS Punisher. Anonymous tip, another lie from one of them. No warrant, no proof, just a badge and a grin. Stealing kids like trophies, thinking they'll win. Mama crying on the porch, daddy in the cage. System wrote the script, but the CPS Punisher just flipped the page. The educator they banned, I see every violation, every forged line, every ex-part hearing, every stolen time. One tap of the app and the truth ignites. Welcome to the CPS Punisher, now we can fight. CPS and the courts have lied to us all. In the shadows, the skull in the night, the binder full of secrets and weapons you all need. Ab initio, watch me void that lie. Fourth Amendment armor, watch the tyrants cry. Falsified drug test gone in a flash. I see Tevio, warrior, due process king. Every parent's hero when the hotline rings. I call it justice. Download the truth, now the system busts us. From the courtroom to the streets, hear the battle cry. The CPS punishers arrive. Kiss your bar asses goodbye. They tried to silence us. Now we're the loudest voice in the room. CPS Punisher. Here to avoid the chains and expose the game. CPS Punisher. The educator they never wanted you to find. Punisher. The children never leave again. Punisher. Families rise, we never look back. This ain't revenge, this is reunification. This ain't rage, this is resurrection. Open the app, step into the fight. You ready? CPS Punisher! The app you need when they took your kid. CPS Punisher! The truth they hid, now the truth gets lit. Punisher! Download the power, take back the throne. Punisher! You're never alone. CPS Punisher. The educator they never wanted you to find. Void complete. Family restored. The bar is finished. The Constitution will prevail. Judges do what's right. Treason is your penalty. CPS Punisher! Here comes the CPS Punisher.
I'm, just your average parent trying to do right by my kids. Never thought I'd have to, deal with something like this. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon. The kids' toys were scattered everywhere. Then there was a knock at the door. My heart sank when I saw who it was.
Hello, I'm from Child Protective Services. We've received a report and need to inspect your home.
I didn't know what to do. They wanted to come in, look around, talk to my kids. My hands were shaking. I felt like I was doing something wrong even though I knew I wasn't. But then, I remembered something I'd read online about knowing your rights. I took a deep breath and said, "I'm sorry, but unless you have a warrant, I can't let you in." The CPS worker looked surprised. They weren't used to parents knowing their rights. It wasn't easy, but I stood my ground. I protected my family's privacy that day. Remember, when CPS knocks, know your rights. It can make all the difference.
When the courts aren't blue saying fair, you have pulled out your last hair. The law isn't on your side. These corrupt judges take you for a ride. The courts don't want to even oppose. That's how we know it's corrupt. My disability has a name. We're all equal and the same. All alone in the courtroom floor, waiting for your hero to bust right through the door. It's hammering Hank every time. He's the one toeing the line. Hammering Hank, he fights for the weak. Hammering Hank, there for you if you can't speak. Hammering Hank is the eyes you don't have. Hammering Hank, making sure you're not last. In the court they do have rules. They don't treat you like your jewels. You deserve all the commodities. Just because we have difference in our bodies. The law is made for us all. They don't protect us that have files on. He's the answer man you need to be calling. He puts it to an even field. Hammering Hank, he fights for the weak. Hammering Hank, there for you if you can't speak. Hammering Hank is the eyes you don't have. Hammering Hank, making sure you're not last. When you're a bit different, to phone you free. The playing field is equal, what do you bet? That judge has to toe that line. The eye to make sure every time. Hammering Hank, he fights for the weak. Hammering Hank, there for you if you can't speak. Hammering Hank is the eyes you don't have. Hammering Hank, making sure you're not last. Hammering Hank. Hammering Hank. Hammering Hank.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to 11026 episode. I'm Henry Martaccio. I'm going to have a great, interesting night for you guys. I think it's been a very good opening to the year for our rights. Let it be family rights, let it be CPS rights, let it be even disability rights. I had a surprising little outcome in my own matters. I happened to get a new judge appointed to the problems I'm having in Connecticut. But the funny part is, they guarantee me, don't you worry, we're going to take care of all your concerns. Well, I don't see how the state could even rule on their own discrimination against the disabled when it's malice intent and willing to do what they're doing to us as they racketeer the funding. And, again, my belief is, guys, the way we're going to catch these state actors and state players is through the corruption of their funding. And give a shout out to Erica, Kelly, Debbie. Thanks, guys. Karma, thanks again for tuning in. But I really want to get into everything because her time is valuable tonight. She's given up time to give us an update on where she's at and how we can help her. But I wouldn't mind if we could bring in Kathleen Arthur or Kathlee. Hello, Kathleen. How are you?
Hi there, guys. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it is our privilege because we want to get to the bottom of a lot of things, and I know your time is valuable. First off, is it Really? Because I looked on your profile. Oh,
Whoops.
first off, I'm gonna say I love that laugh. That laugh gets me every time. You make everyone else want
Sorry
to.
about that.
You make everybody
Okay,
else
so I'm not a
laugh.
tech. All right, we're just gonna get that out front.
So I believe it was on. I believe it was on your LinkedIn. I believe it was maybe LinkedIn, but I saw parentheses Kathleen. So is it Kathleen or is it Kathleen?
What happened was, gosh, it's been whenever Facebook started, I don't even remember. My daughter was with me and she told me I should get on it. And so I said, well, get me on it. And so she made it my account and she spelled my name wrong. And I've kept it ever since because there's like thousands and thousands of Kathleen Arthurs, but there's only one Kathleen Arthur. Plus, that way I know if I know that person from Facebook or not.
Okay, so I'm not wrong to say because I got it in your mind. I got a mind problem
I know
where
it's hard to get
faces
it
I
off.
recognize all the time, but names, the more complicated they get, the harder it is for me to remember.
Yeah.
And but anyways, but yeah, so just for the crew to let them know a little bit about you and where you stand in life and what you've been up to this week. Because
Sure.
you do look beautiful in that hat you got on today.
Oh, thank you, thank you. This is just a tip, gals. If you don't have time to curl your hair, a hat always works, always. Anyway, I have been busy, really busy, and I was actually on vacation to Disneyland with my family, and I had to leave for a few days and run on over to DC and hop on a few meetings. Things are really happening on a couple of different fronts. The family movement to get justice from the badly written federal laws, the federal 4E law and the federal 4D law, that's child support and foster care, are the work issues that I'm working at or on. And I'm really only an expert with lived experience on the foster care side of it. So I always welcome help with the Title 4D issues, which is the child support issues. We have a lot of work to do. But luckily, because I'm a Title 4E policy advisor, I'm very well versed in the policies and how to rewrite the specific parts of the laws in order to make the problems get better, if
Now,
not go away.
when you say
And that,
problems, we're talking about the legal kidnapping of children
oh yeah,
unnecessary for profits, right? I lost you. You there? Uh-oh. Your camera went out.
the
There you are.
ASFA, which is the American Safe Family Act, that has to go.
Okay, you want to
It's
restart?
just
Blacked
an
out for a
awful
second.
lump
You-
of way to distribute federal dollars, which is basically it's just a lump of funds that they give the social workers a bonus, literally, for successful removal and adoption of a child. And then it funds people for the rest of their lives to raise these children who were oftentimes taken unlawfully without due process, period. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But the problem is that it's as much as it is a state issue as it is a federal issue, because feds are supplying the money and the states are gleefully taking the money. But the problem is the feds can't make the states do things, and the states don't have to obey what the feds say at this point. And the reason that is all prior federal legislation that they've done almost in everything, they do not add any accountability or consequences to. So I'm going to give you guys an example of my work, what I'm doing right now. I'm doing two things. One is I've got the Stone Soup for Justice, and that's just like boiling in the background. And what that came out of was um,
And
I
Stone's
have been asked
for
by,
Justice is on Facebook, correct?
yeah, yes, and we're doing a web page and we're going to be doing a big launch on it here pretty soon, but it's still brewing right now. And the reason is because people have been like, I've got a lot of connections in DC, and I'm a researcher, and I'm a really geeky data gal. And so I've developed a method to take a bill and to convert it into Congress language, basically, knowing that Congress has number one, the power of the purse, and number two, the power to legislate. I go backwards. I look exactly at the Title 4E law. I look exactly where this law is that says for them to distribute the funds this way. I look for the other part where they're supposed to do it that way. Then what I do with the bills is I just basically break them apart and look for Title IV issues that are within the body of the bill. And then I separate them into what the specific complaint is, what the specific solution is, and what part of the bill either needs to be stopped, amended, or other. And so, what I'm really doing with that is I'm just gathering a large amount of information. And then, when I go to present it to Grassley's office, who asked me to do that, he's referring people to come to me to help them to do that, to throw it all in the stone soup when we're all done. Then we're going to give what we'll do is we'll have the original author's bill signed in whatever format they want. On top of it will just be their approved index of Title IV stating that in this bill, this federal law is broken and that federal law is broken and that federal law is broken. And this is the suggestions for it. So it basically takes this bill, and a lot of them are like super emotional because people have had absolutely crap lived experiences, and boy, does it show. But when you're trying to logically go through and figure out what exactly part of the federal government this is responsible to, it's hard sometimes for the legislators basically to get past the emotion of the bill into what the problem matches with the solution is. And generally, they have been saying in the federal government that, well, I have an easy solution here. It's the state's fault, which, we finally broken that barrier. It is not the state's fault. As a matter of fact, the states are not allowed to write Title IV issues, laws, ways of making children a bonus for child support issues and for foster care issues. They've criminalized it. The federal government has unknowingly by the way that they set it up as a bonus system, and the states are fine with it because, for example, every state in the union now has a budget that depends upon a certain level of divorce. If divorces go down, the money drops for the state income. It's a sick bonus system in so many ways. But let me tell you some hot off the press news. This is really, 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 really big. It's a little tiny part of Title IV, but I have a saying that I like to say, which is, how do you kill a monster? Sometimes one bite at a time. And so this is a huge, big bite that I've been working on for a few years with a few other people that we have not come up with a problem for 2 years. We knew this was a huge issue, but we couldn't figure out what was causing it. And what it is I don't know if you can see this, but we have discovered what the source is of sex trafficking of Americans' children, the largest source, I should clarify. And let me back up a little bit. There has been an audit in Connecticut state that essentially says
My good
the
state.
state that is that it, and the title is something to the effect of states are not always. No, that was a federal report. I'll start with that. There's a federal HHS report that says states are not always reporting foster children when they go missing. And then there was just before that, there was a Connecticut report that went into great detail. What those reports found was that this is a fact. Children enter foster care, and then they vanish. No one knows where they are. Nobody is reporting them missing. Life goes on its merry way. And with the U.S. Marshal reports, we know that these children end up in sex trafficking and other trafficking situations. Those are undisputable facts that we have from the HHS and the government. As a matter of fact, John JFK Jr. was in the executive office when he told President Trump, and this was filmed, you can look it up. He told the president that our HHS is now the primary vector or supplier for sex
I
trafficking.
remember that. I think the beginning of December, wasn't it?
Yes. And so what we've been doing since then is trying to figure out where the hell the leak is happening. We know it's happening. We just don't know where it's happening. We don't know what the mechanism is. How can these children just go missing? I mean, it takes a village for a child to disappear. It takes the teacher to not report. It takes the doctor not
Truancy
reporting.
officers,
It takes
social
the foster
workers,
parents not
right.
reporting.
guidance counselors.
It takes a village to send a child to be a ghost and end up vanishing and being in foster care. It takes a village to cooperate for that to happen. And in my mind, I could not find a fathom of how on earth that could be happening on a national basis. But I found it. I listened to a very boring 3.5 hour long videotape that was a response to the Connecticut audit, and everybody can look it up online. In the last half hour,
What's the website? What how do people
it's
find
the
that document?
Connecticut State Audit Hearing to address the Connecticut audit. And I don't have my
That was
stuff
a
with
hearing
me.
that was done at our legislative office. Was it?
Yeah, just about a month or two ago. Very recently.
Right, just before Christmas.
So look that up. It's interesting. There's a lot of things that were weird about that hearing, but the bottom line is, at the very, very end, the head of HHS, who has now quit being the head after 20 some odd years after this report came out, confessed that they were not reporting the children as missing, and it wasn't their fault because those children were just AWOL.
AWOL.
And I thought,
Child become AWOL.
AWOL, that's interesting. I don't believe AWOL is a federal term. And so I looked it up, and the Connecticut audit showed that 68% of the times a foster child went missing, they weren't reported. No one called 911. No one called the Center for Missing Children. Nothing happened with these kids. They just went missing and weren't reported at all. Well, when you call, and I believe it's still there, I think you can still do it right now. Call the Connecticut hotline to report a missing child from foster care. And one of the choices are press whatever if this child is AWOL. So what was happening is the foster care parents were told to report these children as AWOL to this 1-800 number at the foster care office, and then they did not report the child missing. That child at that point became a ghost because the foster parent recorded it to the 1-800 number that they were supposed to. So therefore they did their due duty as far as they knew. The social workers have learned over the years that even though there is a federal law that in order to get foster care payments, they are supposed to, every single time, without exception, if that child is missing for more than 24 hours, they are supposed to report it to the Center for Missing Children.
Shouldn't it be like 4 hours?
And, well, it's within 24 hours, depending on that, and I agree with that. We should get into the minutia of that. I mean, an infant, obviously, but it's just a standard thing. But nevertheless, 68% of the times that a child went missing, they did not report that child at all. Now, by using AWOL, they are breaking the law. There's a very clear law. It's the Adam Walsh law. There is no exception. The states are committing fraud because they know these children are missing. They are not in state care anymore. They're somewhere else. They may know where they're not are. They may know not. But bottom line is nobody's looking for these missing children. They are not getting any services. And here's the fraud part. Because they fail to report these children, they're continuing to get Title IV money as if that child were still in care. And that, my friend, is why they're finding foster children in sex trafficking raids that are currently still in in foster care because they've never been discharged, because if they do, the states will lose their money.
Well, what about the school systems? Don't they have an
Now,
affirmative
the thing is, here's the school systems, and we've done a lot of social stories, because when you watch this video, you will see that that
authorization of school
HHS director
systems?
is blaming in that videotape. She's blaming the police, and she's blaming the foster care parents. Okay, she says it's their fault. The police won't take a report until a week or whatever, and the foster care parents weren't reporting. Well, that's not the truth. The truth was the foster care parents were reporting. They thought they had done what they were supposed to be, because some of these are actually policies inside of the state HHS system. That this was a thing, that AWOL was a thing. They didn't know it wasn't. The state was many parents, foster parents, actually would get punished if they reported a missing child. 911. They're not allowed to. They must go through the social services. That's the rule. That's one of the things that needs to be changed. Any caregiver of any child should immediately be allowed to call 911 or the Center for Missing Children if the child is missing. Hello?
Common sense. That would be
So what we found out was AWOL is actually a terminology that is supplying the world's greatest sex trafficking supply pipeline in the world. Period. Bar none.
Repeat that. AWOL is supplying.
AWOL is supplying sex trafficking. That's period. It is. And AWOL is now the largest supplier of sex trafficking in the world, because America has the largest supply. Because these children are going into foster care, then they vanish for whatever reason. Often it's because they're being abused at the foster care home, or they put them in a hotel or something. So anyway, the kids leave. They call them AWOL. They continue to take the money from the federal government for these children, but they're providing no services because they do not know where they are. Now, these kids are missing, and they know that they can't go get a job at Taco Bell. So what, as a nice little 15-year-old on the run, are your options?
Where are they going to go?
What are they going to do to make money is my question. There's only one or two things that they can do to fly under the radar to make money, and neither of them are good options. These social workers, by not reporting these children, are forcing them into prostitution. These social workers who are not reporting these children are the pipeline to America's sex trafficking. I'm sick and tired of hearing about Epstein and the list. There's supply and there's demand. Epstein is demand. I am worried about the supply that is alive and well and is our foster children.
Now, in 2016, their claim was Asian was
right, and it was never. The reason why for that,
supposedly we rebuilt the whole system to address minor prostitution and sex trafficking in Connecticut. So again,
that was a diversion to call the sex trafficking problem. Even I just recently attended the CPAC in DC, where Kristi Noem was, and I got to personally tell her the statistics of we should not be focusing our American money on finding these foreign kids. The primary source of sex trafficking children in America is HHS. And I told her that on live TV. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's lots of raids lately. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of kids being rescued, and nobody's getting arrested, though. Nope. Nobody.
Nope.
Where are those perpetrators? They're still hiding them. Anyway,
it's crazy.
The solution, this is, so let me just kind of go over this here with you. This says, stop the child sex trafficking supply pipeline, which is what HHS is doing by AWOL. And states are using the term AWOL to avoid federal child protection law. And also what they're avoiding is their paycheck going away, because when the child is no longer in care after they report them, their paycheck stops.
Right.
So this is fraud. There is a child they're getting money for, and it's as if it's a ghost. it's there for paperwork, but not in any sort of services. It has lost that child that we're paying as federal tax dollars to the state has just lost all of its protection that the federal government has paid the state to protect that child.
And
They
again,
don't get
when we're
listed.
talking about pain, we're talking about not just the care of the child, but again, transportation to school, school costs. We're
Exactly.
talking
Yeah.
about psychology
We're
therapy
talking
that are not
a
taking place
fraud that
in a
has
child.
never been. They're making a big fuss about that. The up north daycare fraud. When they start looking into this, this is going to be a fraud worth so very much money that it is just going to blow you away. I mean, it is just unprecedented the amount of fraud that we have proven with their own reports, the government reports, not our reports,
That's
with
the
the
best part
government
of it is,
reports, we're
guys.
able to prove this.
That is when you dig into the government's policies and procedures, and I don't care what you're fighting, that is the best evidence to ever use.
Absolutely. They can't deny their own reports, frankly,
No,
and that's really what
and
it comes down to.
They'll try.
Yeah.
You're miscrewing it, or like we're talking about this AWOL doesn't fit. Sort of like what I complain about. There is no such thing as an ADA contact person. There is no such thing as an affirmative action person. No, the feds use one word: designated responsible employee.
Right.
28 CFR 35.107. That's who I want to file my discrimination complaint with.
Mhm.
And again, I don't know how to break it into the Title IV funding, but I almost feel if there's discrimination, that reaffirms the ADA and tying it back to the Title IV funding, because 3/4 of these kids are going to have disabilities. They're going to have mental, physical, trauma, post-traumatic stress, you name it. It qualifies them,
Do
Kathleen.
you realize that part of what your statement is saying is true, but it's true by design? Title
Go ahead.
4B is a entitlement. And what an entitlement is that federal law at the federal level wrote it so that only certain categories of children are eligible for Title 4E payments from the federal government to the states. And the two qualifications are: one, the child must be poor; two, or the child must be disabled. And that right there exactly explains why they have a disproportionate amount of children who are both poor, and particularly they love those disabled children because they come with a check. So they have a
Bigger
huge,
check, Kathleen.
huge amount of
Bigger check.
disabled children
A
in.
bigger check, and they're easier to manipulate than a typical
Absolutely.
child.
I don't know that I told you this or not, but my grandson I had a medical kidnapping of him because he was very severely disabled. And from a hospital in the state of Washington, they kidnapped him from us while we took him in there for severe care. So, and that's that was one of the things that got me going on this. And lovely, God was very blessing to us, and we got him back and all that kind of stuff. But the trauma was just so severe from having to, realize that my government is corrupt. What the fuck's going on here? This is not what I was
Yep.
taught in Catholic grade school.
Nope.
I mean, what the hell's going on here? I mean, I'm older, and I was having just a total culture shock, not to mention the fact I have been a foster mother since 1979. And I know for a fact up until about 1996-ish, the foster people were there to help. They weren't trying to grab and arrest people. And, I never saw the inside of a court until after 1996 for the foster children that I had. And I got to talk to the parents. There wasn't all these
When you say
terrible
you never saw the inside of it, you're talking about inside, because I know with my Nathan, every 3 years I have to go to probate, and it's
Right.
absolutely bullshit that I'm dealing with attorneys that don't even know his goddamn civil rights, his rights of homestead, his rights of Medicaid, his rights to engage and get appropriate program services and activities for his needs. And that's where they shut you down, where it's a meat grinder. You put in there.
We didn't even get that far, my friend. I mean, we weren't even. We were so far away from that with poor old Deb. I mean, this was way, 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 way back then. My son actually was the first child diagnosed in Kaiser Permanente with autism. And then he had a son who with autism and ended up being schizophrenic too, that we didn't know was behaving, explaining a lot of the behaviors he was having. But we had hell on earth, with him, because Damage, the state mental hospital, had closed down, and there was no help for us in terms of
No,
families with severe mental illness.
they
And
want.
I mean, at one point, I was old and he was 6'6" and still at a 2-year-old functioning. And he was in love with Taylor Swift and trying to run away. He was going to die, if we
Yep.
didn't do something. And there was nothing to be had. And they took him from us. Not
F.
because there was any abuse and neglect. We took him to the hospital and asked for neglect, and then they just kidnapped him from there. They wouldn't give us the help, but they kidnapped him and put him in a home 200 miles away.
I mean, it's so crazy since Senator Kennedy is now, I think it's
Yeah.
Lipitor or something like that, that the new autism pill, which is basically a folic acid, it's methylated folic acids. And I've had Nathan now on the protocol, and you wouldn't believe the language that's coming out of him.
I'm so
And again,
happy.
I am fighting with my state now 6 months afterwards, and I can't even get the drug. I can't
Yeah.
even get biomedical treatment for these kids. But yet they want to put these kids immediately on Ritalin, which I think is absolute bullshit when you got a psychologist and we've proven the genetical problem is not there. Our genetic problems is less than 1%. We believe it's an environmental toxin that's going on, and this is why there's so many people with disabilities today. And again, let it think back to when we were kids. We didn't eat out of plastic. We didn't microwave. We didn't have our milk in plastic jugs. Everything was fresh. And again, this is only my belief that I believe. And guys, this is all for educational purposes. We're not attorneys. We don't support anything outside than our opinion. And again,
Well,
there's so
what
many.
has been happening with our federal government basically is that um, they took the seatbelt off and kicked the parents out of the car, basically. And they thought that government knows best. It used to be father knows best. Now it's government knows best. And they're forcing us into like hepatitis B immunizations for children at birth, which I was a postpartum nurse at the time. And I tell you what, I did not support that. That is a nasty old injection that you should not be putting into infants. And there was no reason for it after about 5 years, because hepatitis B used to be deadly. Then they found a cure for it. So literally, there's no reason, unless the mom was hepatitis B positive, to give an infant. It's bloodborne. Unless you're taking your infant home to a drug addicted home with needles laying in the crib, the infant isn't going to get hepatitis B. And
Right.
why are we giving every nation, child in the nation this shot? It's just wrong. But that isn't the issue. The issue is that our government does not listen to us as parents anymore or respect us. And they
Nope.
want us all to be sheep, acting in a certain way that they approve of. And if not, we are booted out of the flock, and punished, basically, is really what's happening. So I used to think JFK Jr. was a freaking kook. I mean, kook. But
Nope.
I've been
I was
following him very, very heavily for the last couple of years, and he is really brilliant. He actually, almost
very.
everything that I have been advocating for the last 15 or 20 years, he exactly has too. I didn't realize we were in parallel universes. It was funny, but I really like him now, and he's going to prove them all wrong by making our children healthier. I do
I
believe
got a
that.
question. I got one question. I know, in my opinion of myself, and that's why I don't want to use I just like to put it out to everyone. Don't you think we are the medical experts of our own children? We're the ones that attend the appointments. We're the ones that talk to the doctors. We're the ones that see firsthand the change in our children, whether it's positive or negative. And I don't care if it's from strep throat, because, take this pill, call me in 2 weeks if it doesn't work. That type of mentality is now the new treatment of care for us, where
Mhm.
if you're not questioning your doctor, it's insane. I mean, it really is. You have to start questioning and introducing reports and studies.
And the culture of the medical field is still a godlike structure. And if you question them or their infinite wisdom, they take it very personally and will call CPS and report you for. They used to report people for refusing hepatitis B infant shots. I mean, It's really bad. And really what has happened is that I think it's because it's all corporate money based. Hospitals, like I say, way back in the 70s, they were like owned by churches and stuff and really did have the intent to help people. Now, I am not kidding you. If you've had any CPS involvement in your lives, do not go to a hospital to have birth. Your child will very likely be taken from you at birth with zero evidence. That's just going to happen. Do a home birth with a good qualified midwife. It's
Yeah.
sad. Our,
Well,
our,
let
our
you know
government
too,
is literally
Connecticut
just stealing our children now.
third year, Connecticut is trying to take away homeschooling. Why? Because there's so many parents right now that are doing homeschool and they're losing that absolute money for the educational needs per town.
Well, that
you
and
don't get the right to
25
indoctrinate your child.
25% of the referrals to CPS are pissed off teachers who don't want to have that child in their class anymore. I mean, that happened to us too, where they reported Devin not because there was anything going on, but he was too hard for the classroom. And yet they're supposed to legally provide help for Devin. And instead they called the CPS
The schools are
because
supposed to have a
they
behavior.
could not keep him in the classroom. I wasn't even there. And they called CPS.
Wouldn't the board certified behavior analysis person have a behavioral
They
plan?
didn't have any of those. We didn't have any of those. And that was only maybe
Don't put a
15
lot of
years
weight
ago.
into those reports either, because it's kind of a joke anyways. Cost consequence.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, applied behavior analysis is on the chopping block. You know that. ABA, which they use for autistic kids, is on the chopping block right now because it's brutal. It's brutal. You're purposely trying to change the traits of the autistic person to meet society's norms of sitting there, being quiet, standing still, speaking when only spoken to. And again, it's so crazy, but but yeah. So what else happened this week in DC? What other meetings did you have with everyone?
Well, I quite a few. And I'm doing kind of a twofold thing. One, I'm getting ready for a rally in March. The date is not firmly set yet. I'm still organizing it, and to get the names of who in the specific legislative offices are dealing with these issues that we're talking about. Because I am not kidding, they switch over every year, if not every 2 years. But you almost never talk to the same person twice. So you need to go get their names and start emailing them and all that kind of stuff. But then I was also, after I was done with that, getting organized for the next rally, I started talking to them about this because this is brand new information. After I listened to the videotape, I looked up the other states to see if they were using AWOL too. And in one quick look, I found 20 states. That means that right now, every single day, missing children from foster care are going into an unknown situation. They are missing, they are not being reported, and therefore they're at great risk for sex trafficking and death. And the state is sitting back and continuing to take the money as if the child was there. This is an emergency, and we have to do something about this. We are one amendment from one bill from plugging the largest sourcing of sex trafficked children with one amendment of one bill. This will cost $0. All they have to do is amend to the Walsh Act in the event a foster child who is missing and not reported dies or is sex trafficked. The person who's supposed to be reporting this child will now be liable for a $500 fine and or 7 days in prison. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot of time or punishment for you not reporting a child on purpose, continuing to take the money. The child's gone for up to 2 years and ends up dead or sex trafficked. That doesn't seem like a big punishment, but they have no punishment right now. There is zero prosecutions for hundreds of thousands of children who have gone missing and ended up trafficked. There has been no punishment. There are no consequences written into the federal law right now in the event they disobey the law. So I'm not too picky about what the consequences are. All I want to do is add accountability and also to assign this bill an oversight committee. When they write laws like this and they don't assign oversight, that means literally nobody in Congress is actually in charge of that law and
Well,
making sure that it is obeyed. There's no follow up at all.
what
And so
about
this law has been disobeyed for decades now, ever since it was written, almost with no consequences, no punishment. And the children are now the primary source of sex trafficking in America. That's our government for you folks. Our government is now a pimp. A pimp is
what about
somebody.
this? And hit it more it counts. Why won't it be if you don't report one child, you lose 10 children's worth of funding for 2 years?
Now, see, that was the approach that I went first.
Yep.
And then they were like, "Oh no, we can't do that to the poor social workers." As a matter of fact, Connie Raguli, who
What
was
orders? Wait a minute. What
the Family
orders?
Forward, she was with the Family Forward Foundation.
Yep.
Connie and Raguli and I actually split ways because of this. Connie wanted to protect the social workers. She didn't think it was fair to make them go to jail for not reporting foster children when they went missing and that kind of stuff. She didn't want me to focus my energy on this. And I flat out told her, Connie, if you are more in favor of protecting the social workers than you are the children, I'm out of here.
Yeah, you're in the wrong business.
Our priorities are different. And so I've gone full steam ahead in terms of doing everything that I can to make sure that the important people know what's going on. And we discussed this just before the show, but the new strategy that I am using, that I'm going to start applying, is auditors. Because we have tried the senators and we haven't gotten anywhere. We have tried the state and we're getting very little results from that. We have tried, so many different ways to get movement on these issues, and we're still not going very far or fast. However, we have not used one category as superhero yet that I really didn't even realize was a possibility of change until the Connecticut audits. I did not realize that state level auditors, and I am not talking about the people inside of HHS Child Services. I'm talking about the independent, not affiliated with HHS state auditors are, and I know this, but they are independent. And the state auditors are able to audit the state and find out all kinds of awful stuff like the use of AWOL and the missing children.
Now, I believe that's Kenny Miller, which was a Senator Kenny Miller, and he's head of our Connecticut Doge, and I think he's the one.
No, it's not Kenny Miller. He's not the auditor. No, it's a state auditor. If you just look up Connecticut audit,
we have
in response to the report, the audit that they pulled. Okay. And I'll give you a link if you can't find it. But just look up, actually, just Google Connecticut audit report states not reporting missing foster children, and it should come right up.
Okay. All right. We'll take a look at that and we'll get it up on the wall. But
that
we do have some stuff on our wall.
Auditor was on the videotape, and the HHS and social workers were attacking him and pissed off because he did an audit of them. No one has ever audited them before. No one has ever audited any state before because the federal government can't do it and the state won't do it, but the state auditor can do it. And so I had a friend who was like at an impasse, and she asked me, "What do you think I should do next?" And I said, "I don't know. I really don't. You've tried everything." And I go, "You know what? Why don't you try recreating what the Connecticut auditor did? Get a hold of him." He was very abused by the HHS in that meeting in terms of him. How dare they audit him? I mean, they weren't really pissed off about the results that 68% of the children who went missing were never reported missing, and they were still taking the money. Nobody was mad about that. They were mad that they were looked at, and they were really trying to figure out how to legislate to where they could never get audited again too in that meeting. It was just really, really bad. So our new strategy is auditors, state auditors. I'm going to get a hold of I'm going to start with the ones that we know are using the AWOL term within their terminology. It's publishable, and we can I'll let them know this is happening right away, and get them to do the state audit that Connecticut did. Then we'll have the data that we need to close them down.
Okay, now do you, again, this is coming back to the hatred of this one man. I think there's a good old boy network and everybody keeps within those secrets. And the way I'm hearing it from you is one gentleman came in and broke apart that chain. And that's
Right.
what they're more
So
mad
as
about.
far as the
That's
good
what
old boy
I'm
club
saying.
goes,
I
HHS
believe-
is a good old boy club, but the state auditor is independent, and I did not realize that. And not only are they independent, but they are proudly independent. They are proud of what they did, even though they were abused and bashed by Congress people and Senate people and HHS people. They're proud of what they did. They are proud that they're helping these missing
Mhm.
children not disappear into sex trafficking anymore. These guys are geeky superheroes, and I'm certain we're going to be able to mobilize them. There's only 50 states that we have to hit and get them to do an audit through these guys who have the ability to do this, but nobody's ever asked them to. How Connecticut got audited is because I went into Chris Murphy's office 3 years ago, and I got a really great aide. She was brand new. She wasn't seasoned or jaded or anything. And she got what I was talking about. And they asked the state auditor to look into it. And that is what started this whole audit for Connecticut, which started the audit for the nation, which has exposed the use of AWOL
Wow.
and the source of sex trafficking of children. This is big stuff. This is kind of bigger than Jeffrey Epstein because he's got a list of a bunch of old guys and he's dead. But this is the source,
Right.
the largest source of sex trafficking in America, in the world. This is the source, and the source is the federal government.
Wow. And I still say, because I believe that the state puts pressure on state players, which are the lower peon people, to do XYZ, like, make sure you don't reunify the family so we can get the funding. Make sure you keep the parents suppressed so we can get the funding. Make sure you claim disabilities on the children so we can get the funding. And now it's about non-reporting because we'll lose it all. Where again, they can say, well, that's the state player that did it and not us. We shouldn't lose it. I'm telling you, I think you got to hit them where it hurts the most. 10 years or 2 years of funding gets removed automatic.
They already have that as a mechanism of punishment.
Well,
and it's called, now let me finish though. It's called clawback. And normally what happens is after a child dies, they get a report and they say, hey, this child died 5 years ago and we've been paying foster care for 4 years. We want you to give us that money back. And then they do. But this is very rare that they find this, and they are still doing clawbacks on children who are still missing and haven't been reported. Now, the punishment of holding Title IV money does no personal harm to any state worker anywhere. What we want to do is to amend the law to target that social worker who was in charge of that child, who failed to report that child to 911, the Center for Missing Children, and the federal government for payments. We need to make that person civilly and criminally liable. And that is a way actually that, like all of the RICOs and stuff like that work, you cannot charge a government with a crime because a government isn't a person. So what we're doing is we're switching over the federal laws to where if the state actors or whoever the actor is that is breaking the federal law, that person will now be civilly and criminally liable for that action. If you end up not reporting a child who's missing and they end up being sex trafficked and or killed, you will now be punished for that. Do you know how fast the reporting is going to begin?
I hope, because I find it didn't happen that way with the ADA.
All right. Well, let me tell you, this is hope for you. If you look up the 2024 National Center for Missing Children report, not the 2023, not the 2022, nothing beforehand, but only the 2024 report, you will find that the first time ever they have reported that In 2024, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children assisted with 29,568 missing children cases nationally. So in our entire nation, they assisted with 29,568 children that year. Among these, from the 29,000 children, 23,160, 78% of them were foster children.
Oh,
Now, I'm going to repeat that. Remembering that foster children are only 0.5% of the nation's children. 0.5. This is look it up online, the 2024 National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had a 78% of the children that were reported to them were foster children. Now, that's a very highly disproportional figure. And when you look at it mathematically, it's impossible for that to have happened, except for there has not been an explosion of missing foster children. There has been an explosion of social services workers, the social workers reporting the children when they're missing. That's where the explosion has happened in 2024. So I have proof positive that my going to Senator Murphy's office, him going to the auditor's doing an audit and then telling HHS about it, I have proof positive that it worked and they started reporting. The problem is that they're still using the term AWOL in all of the nations for those really tough kids. I mean, they've really improved their reporting, but we still have children who are totally going through the cracks. And this needs to be stopped and they need to be punished at a personal level in order to stop the behavior. And it has worked. Even the rumor, just the rumor that they will be held civilly and criminally accountable has changed their behavior across the nation in 2024. And I'm thrilled to death about that. But we've still got to keep going because these kids are still slipping through the cracks. And I want some accountability so this never happens again.
Right. I got one question though. I want to say to Danielle. Danielle wrote, "How many hours of training does a social worker need?" And again, I believe in the state of Connecticut because I looked into this. A social worker, for them to count, has to hold a master's in social work for their opinion to count. That was in Connecticut. Whether they've updated the laws, I know they were trying to do it in 2020, just before COVID hit. But that's pretty much the outcome. You really need to look at it. And again, my feeling is without a master's in social work, a 2-year degree is bullshit to making a call on a child's needs. That's my opinion. But yeah, I don't know if you're seeing the people texting the messages in our little chat box. Do you see all that?
No.
Yeah. So again, people are
my feelings about the social workers are in terms of what my realm of experience is, which is social workers for foster care. They're a job description that has too many conflicting masters. They're daycare workers. They pick the kids up and keep them in the offices with them overnight. They are lawyers. They are judges. They are executioners. They are, they have so many roles and they're not doing a good job of it. So I would actually like to see the entire foster care model dissolved. And I'm working at an executive level with some people on some stuff, but I'm hoping to get a meeting with Alex to talk about restructuring and actually just completely demolishing the entire foster care system the way that it is. It's too corrupt to go backwards and change and get a whole new system in. And same with Title 4D child support. The child support system will be much easier to dismantle than the foster care system, but both can be done. And we will be able to take good care of our children and they will be placed well with loving families. And we're going to put it back down to the level of parent decision making unless there's criminal activity involved. The government should not be involved at the level that they are with our children and our family decisions. It has screwed us up in a generational manner. And the fixes are actually very, very, very easy. But
when you say burn it down, meaning I do believe there might be one or two good social workers because their bosses are telling them to meet quotas, sort of like the cop has to give out so many traffic tickets every month. What about the fact that, again, if these people are not reunifying families
Right.
with their children, and it
They
only
don't
takes
get
5
paid.
cases
They
within
do
10
not get
years,
paid.
they
You
should
have to
they have to
remember,
get fired or
until you
retrained.
remember and really understand, the social workers do not get paid to reunify your children. Their
No,
system of finances through the federal government is only to take them away and adopt them out. It's all a bonus system.
right.
There is no consequences for them to not
No, the consequence
reunify.
is they don't get the money.
The truth is that if they make it longer and harder and the worst it could possibly be explained for this children and this family, that is the top dollar amount that they will rake in. And so their behaviors every time predictably match the exact federal funding dollars that they're trying to obtain. Every single problem. You can go backwards, look at the other end of the telescope, look at the money first, and then go backwards, and you will find it every time. We are
Now
never
I know
going to
I
solve
know
these
for
problems
IDP
until we
kids.
solve the federal funding issues, period. When we have a bonus-based system, they're going to continue to take children and, encourage divorce because they get money for it.
So I know the IDD kids, because again, that's my specialty in Connecticut. I think it's up to $300,000 that the state can get overall, then apply for another waiver. But again, we've heard in testimonies up at the Capitol that a lot of providers are saying, well, we're only giving half and switching that money over to people who don't have it. So is there any
Hmm.
way that we can ensure that the services being provided and designed for that child, that any dollars should automatically carry over to the following year for use in case of a problem occurs? Do you know what I'm saying? Sort of like you build
Yeah. So
a
what I
bank.
would encourage you to do is to figure out where that dollar you are talking about comes from. It's not Title 4D and it's not Title 4E.
Okay.
It's in a different part of Social Security funding, and I do not know which title that particular funding is. So, what I always encourage people to do is go backwards, find the funding that's causing the problem, then go backwards with it, and you can figure out how to solve it. But because I do not know where the funding is coming, what the requirements are for the funding, is it a grant? Is it an entitlement? Is it, open ended funding? Because I do not know what's causing that problem, I cannot answer your
I'm giving you
question.
the riddle, as in I know the Department of Developmental Services returned $50 million, but yet there's so many parents in need of help, so
Right.
many people
And I
not
know, and
in
you know
community.
that, and I know that, but
So
what
I'm
is
saying
the
to
actual
you,
law in terms of surplus funding that we would want to take to which legislator, is that state or is that federal, to reverse that law? That particular problem you're just talking about would take 15 minutes to solve. If you
and it can't
knew
go back to the general fund. This is
where
what I'm
the law
saying to you.
was, what it was, what the money was coming from it, and you were able to present that with an amendment of the language to where instead of going back to this pool, it would roll over into the next year for X amount of funds. I mean, that particular kind of problem is super, super, super easily fixed, but you have to do the research because I'm going to tell you right now, the legislators have no idea where the
No,
money's coming from. They have no
no.
ability to have any authority over power the purse at this time. It's just the way that they've dissolved into, they fight, about social issues, but they don't have any idea what the power of the purse is, let alone how to control it. They really do not.
Well, what I think the game plan is, and again, I'm applying this to DCF too, because I'm taking the role model that I think the Department of Developmental Services wrote the rule book for these guys, because for the longest time, they've been racketeering the disabled, truly disabled, institutionalized people for the longest time for maximum profits of care, and obviously not giving them even the closest appropriate care. But the
Mhm.
point is that they take the money and they only spend the federal aspect of it and try to return as much money of the state's money
Oh, yeah,
back to the
absolutely.
general fund.
Sure.
So, is there a way your programming system can ensure that the state is matching dollar for dollar when with the federal government? I mean,
No
that's what I was
way. There
Me
is
too.
no way in God's green earth to even come close to that. Every single state has a different data system. Every single state has different definitions of what a child is, what abuse is, what disability is. Every single state is writing into a state of absolute confusion and impossibility for legislators and researchers and parents to figure out what the hell's going on. They need to redo the whole thing. We need to get a universal data coding. The federal government should not be giving money to the states when they do not have any way to find out if it's being used or
Truly
spent correctly.
spent.
And in particular, the title 4E and D are awful. They've really never had a good accounting ever. And there are horrors going on with there is abuse and fraud at the state level that is just going to blow people's minds once we actually get the availability in this day and age to get simple data. It's getting
Now,
there. We're making great strides. That was my contribution to President Trump executive order. I helped make some suggestions. They only took 3 of them, but but it
hey,
was the
three's better
data.
than none, you know. And
Yeah, I
again,
know that's both the good news and the bad news, right?
I want to ask some more questions here because people
Okay.
are popping them up.
Okay.
How do they get away with all the corruption when our Constitution and law of the land and those government employees take their oath of office if of the Constitution? So
So the easy answer to that is 2 answers. If you're working for HHS Title 4E or D, as an employee on the front line, you have 2 choices: quit or commit. If you're comfortable with, actions that are absolutely unethical, you can stay there. If you don't, you quit. And that is really how it goes because they have such a high turnover rate. Once a social worker realizes what's going on and that they have to lie, cheat, and steal in order to take your child from good parents, sometimes they quit. So there is no continuity to that. And as far as the first part of the question goes, the states will always take federal money. And the federal government is giving those states the money with so many restraints and bonuses to take children away and payments to increase child support dollars and stuff like that. The way that the federal government is making the states act in order to get that money is what is causing the problem. And all of the state level laws that we make may be a temporary fix here and there, but the state workers will always go back to the behavior that's demanded by the federal government in order to get the most money possible, period.
now, in this writing of the bill, because there's a couple of questions here too, do you think any parents' rights of termination in children's adoptions could ever be reversed due to our legislation?
Our grandchild, 3 of them, were the first children in the state of Washington that were legally allowed to go out of a state of permanent termination of parental rights to live with their parents again. We had to write a state law in order for that to happen. And yes, it's going to happen. Yes, we are going to make sure that this whole derogatory court-based system for families is dissolved. People need help, usually because they are in some sort of state of poverty or because they just
Disability
don't have the help.
or
They're
disability
overwhelmed.
or disability.
And
They
we
have
are not
child
giving them
severe
that help. I
disability.
used to be a home health nurse. We'd go in to postpartum mothers. We would have helped them. We wouldn't take their child away. So we need a brand new system. And I want the chance to work with Alex about that. That kind of mimics a home health system of help. And we don't have judges and lawyers to take children away. That should be separate. That should be only criminal court, not family court. If somebody breaks a law, they need to go to criminal court. If there are family needs that are being unmet, they need help, and they need people who are going to do it without threatening to take their children away. That is not necessary to give people help. It is not.
No.
If they commit a crime, they need to be prosecuted for it. But those are 2 different, complete systems that need to be separated.
push for that even in family court where you got allegations of a parent of
I
being
believe that
abuser.
all family court should be
I
dissolved, whether
oh,
it's
I,
Title
that's
4E or Title 4D. Family court just needs to be dissolved because family court
absolutely
allows hearsay in it. That's the difference between criminal court.
right.
Because family court allows hearsay, it has dissolved into where the courts literally believe that they have the right to lie and to plant evidence in
Mhm.
order to take your children. And there was a court case on that in California. It was a federal court case number 15-55563, where the
Hold
state
on,
DA
repeat that.
literally,
I'm writing it down. We'll repeat that one again. One
okay,
five.
it's a state, it's a federal court from California. Sean McMillan was the presiding counsel, uh, and it was the winner of the Miss California, who was the gal who was being her children taken away, but they won. It was called the Right to Lie case, and the DA from the state of California maintained that they had the right to lie, to plant evidence in order to take someone's children, and to hire state actors to act and to testify falsely. And this was in federal court, so it was videotaped. And you can look it up, federal court case, the Right to Lie number 15-55563. It's on video. It's just
Okay.
awful. And so family
Five,
court needs
five,
to go
five,
away.
3.
Yeah. Family
That
court has allowed for hearsay, which has evolved to the right to lie. And you can't defend a lie. If it doesn't matter how many lawyers you have, if they allow lies in court, you're in a shitload of trouble. You can't defend yourself. You cannot.
what about
And
making
so
a
family
probate?
court is just trash, and it's harming American families, and we can do better. We can.
What about even at the fact of probate courts as termination of parental rights and child abuse cases being an open court? Doesn't the public got the right to know who their neighbors are and whether or not their neighbor is abusing their own kids? Why would I leave my kid with them? I would think it'd be worse than a pedophile list. That if you're a child abuser, you should have it stamped on your forehead and you should be on some kind of list. And again, it's by criminal court standards,
You
but
know, unfortunately, I've had too many fathers who I have worked with who have been accused very falsely of abuse of their own child just because of child support issues. So I want to not mix together those issues. I want to keep, criminal, court to criminal court and family court to family court and not mix it. If it's a criminal thing, we need to treat it criminally. If it's a family court thing, we need to give them help. Period. Take away all the criminality from all of the family assistance. It should not be there.
but that's what I'm hearing. Like parents going to these courts, and when they got a bunch of judges and lawyers making decisions without them even being in the room.
Right.
Two is you can't get the general public to come in and just say,
Right.
"What did you just say they did?"
Yeah.
You know, and again, that's false or true. And again, let it be testifiable by witnesses of the public of their community. Because I believe, as a parent, it should be something like your godparents. When you get married, you know, if you're Catholic, you get godparents involved. And again, if you're going to go for a divorce and you can't decide on a matter, then it should be the godparents that make that determination. It should not be a total stranger to the family. It should be your town mayor, because that's how it worked a long time ago. Where again, if
So,
when we
what
were
my recommendation is somewhat similar to that, except for since I'm a researcher and stuff, what I would recommend is called an advance directive to families. And
like
it's a voluntary form that's filled out just like an advance directive for healthcare, so that when you go into this big commitment or death, you're able to, like see if this, that, or the other thing happens. What do you want to happen in case of that? Put the godparents in charge. Put your mother-in-law in charge. Assign somebody who's a respected whoever. You get to choose what happens to your children in the event you become incarcerated, you die, you divorce, and it will be voluntary. and separately voluntary. In other words, if one parent doesn't want to fill it out, that's fine. If the other parent wants to fill it out, it's fine. But it's totally voluntary. And then if there is an exception to it, such as somebody turns into a mass murder or something like that, there is mediation. And mediation is very effective for resolving things when we're not talking. Right now, when you're using mediation through the courts, they're getting a profit by slicing off a percentage of the money that is their profit from the federal government for taking child support, for increasing child support, for collecting child support, for that whole rolling financial thing. When you set up bonuses to do bad actions, you're going to have bad actions. And we just need to reset the whole system so that it's not bonus driven, it's action, and help, and also audit it and have some overall authority so that if it's going in the wrong direction, we have some ability to change it. Also, redistributing the money differently, like a block grant. Then, if the states are doing things poorly to people and there's a complaint process that they can go through, we can take money away from them. Again, what the federal government is doing is making laws without any accountability and any oversight. And it shows because the federal laws are being ignored or completely abused by the states. And so we need to make the state actors accountable, and we need to make the federal actors write the laws better.
Okay. I mean, it again.
It sounds
There's
simplistic because
so
there are
much
so
out.
many issues.
Could
And
you
this sounds
one?
over simplistic. But the truth is, until we fix the funding issues, it's just going to be a mutation of problems that are just going to keep growing and growing exactly as they are, even though we've got thousands of people literally out there trying to work hard and make changes and stuff like that. You can't change poison. Poison is poison. You can mask it, you can reduce it, you can do this, but we have poison coming in from the federal government the way that they're making the states act in order to get the money.
And your belief is the children, if they need to be removed, must go to a family member.
Oh, yeah. Well, if there's a family member available. But yet, or what I believe is that a child who needs someone else other than his parents to step in needs to have the parents decide who goes. Even if that parent is a criminal or committed mass murder or whatever, and that child definitely needs to go to somebody else. But having the parent help to choose somebody, if they're not a criminal and their family and they're out there, that's who the child should go to.
Right.
Other options harm children, even if it's not a perfect situation. We have found that children are better off staying with imperfect parents, way better off with imperfect parents than taking the child away from them. We need to structure things like, for example, right now, if a mom is found with drugs in her system, the baby's taken. That is bad, 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 bad. What we should do is have like an extension of a 30-day drug addiction time frame where the baby gets off drugs, the mama gets off drugs, they get to bond and all that sort of thing. That is the primary time when you can get a female off of drugs. They are proven to be altruistic after they have a baby, and we have a high success rate of that happening. I'm going to tell you what, separating them at birth does nothing for helping that mama's drug addiction or that baby's long-term outfit. It does nothing.
Makes it
Simple
work.
solutions can help.
Right. And again, a simple solution could be even like if you got a bestie of your child, right? And a family that your child's friend's family is willing to bring that child into the home while that 30-day period is going on, because let's face it could not only be at birth, it could be later on in life, but that child would still have their friends, still would be in their school system, would still be in their neighborhood, would still be in their routine. So again, if it's not about disturbing versus ripping the child out of it all, transplanting that child anywhere in the state, wherever there's an open bed, until they can go through adoption proceedings. And again, that's usually in our state is 18 months. But anyways, other states are as little as 6 months. And again,
Yeah.
this is where we need the uniform. I don't think 6 months is appropriate. It has to be enough time for the parent to wake up and say, you know what, I am fucking up. I want to go to a rehab program. Give them 6 months in a rehab program and return that child to them. Because I
And
don't know any.
all of those suggestions that you made and I made and just everybody made are great suggestions in theory, but will not work because that's not the way the funding goes. None of
Right,
our suggestions are
right. Well,
ever,
no, and that's why I was trying to
ever,
get ideas on
ever
funding.
going to work because the states are always going to want federal money and the federal only lets them use it certain ways. And until we stop that cycle, we are not going to make any progress. We have got to rewrite the federal laws and stop making them demand these awful behaviors of the state government in order to get money. That's where
Absolutely.
if it wasn't a federal problem, it would not be happening simultaneously in each and every single one of the states exactly as it is happening. It's happening exactly the same in every single state.
Just a little.
And that wouldn't be happening unless there was a common element. And that
Right.
common element is the way that the federal government distributes the Social Security dollars, period.
So when you started off everything, you talked about offering remedy. So I want to go to the audience right now and say, hey guys, I'm telling you, you can help this beautiful woman. I've had private talks with her. I've heard her in other talk shows. And basically, if you got a remedy or an idea, Kathleen, are you open to having that sent to you?
Yeah. So that's what the stone
Explain,
soup
explain,
is about.
and explain why. Because the curve, I believe it was the bell curve you were
Yeah.
looking for.
Right.
Is the proper word that we're using for termination. It's a graph that goes up and down. We're throwing out the bottom end suggestions, we're throwing out the lower end suggestions, and we're focused on the heart. So if your problem matches 99.9% of other people, that's going to be a priority for you, correct?
Yes and no.
Okay, okay. That's the way I thought the bell
As a
curve worked.
researcher, what I'm looking at actually is two things. One is what is the majority of problems, okay? And so when you do a bell curve, you basically go like this, up and down, okay? So right in the middle is the majority of problems. And what I'm finding is there's actually about 20 different points that are repeatedly being complained about in terms of due process issues and need to be changed. So the bulk of actually what the solutions are kind of already identified and we've matched them up to the law. I'm just waiting for some more to come in. So I get the more data I get that's consistent, the better off it is in terms of knowing you're correct. But the outsides of it, of the bell curve, that is the part that is really interesting. I am getting some problems and solutions that I would have never considered. Never, ever, ever. So
Really?
even the ones that are kind of out on the ends of the bell curve are fascinating to me because some of them are weird, some of them have nothing to do with nothing, but some of them are new ideas or ways that, for example, I didn't know about this whole AWOL thing causing the sex trafficking of foster children until 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that was an outlier piece of information. Nobody knew that. Nobody knows it yet. For the bulk,
Majority of
I have
people.
told quite a few people in Senate now, and they're pretty outraged. So I'm pretty sure it'll get out there pretty soon. But outliers are important too, and that's another reason why I'm doing this is to get the odd things too, and then and I think it would just we've already gotten a commitment from Grassley's and a couple other offices that they're going to try to introduce something. So if we've got a shot at this. I want to make it as good as humanly possible and include as many things as humanly possible, and that's why I am also I'm only though I just want to do a disclaimer. I'm only doing things within Title IV E and D because that really is my only field of expertise. So what I do is I take the bills and I weed them out and only address the Title IV B and E things. I'll keep the bill in its original form with the original author and submit it, but the only things that I know about to comment are very, very specific. So I do
And
weed
that's
those out.
CPS and DCF care funding,
It's
correct?
foster care and child support. Those are the two
Right.
that I know
Okay.
about. And
Okay. So
foster care much more
if
so. I
somebody
always
is
get help with Title 4D because, again, I don't have any lived experience, and that is really important when you're making these bills that you know what was really happening.
if somebody is seeing fraud within their case, they can easily write you to fraud, but give us the remedy. That's what we need is how to correct that
Right.
aspect of the fraud in your opinion, and then send it to her. And again, they can send it through Stone Soup, right? And again,
Yeah.
I don't know, you're also on Facebook, but there's little, again, guys, she's not looking for 100 pages. She's looking for 20 blurbs of your problems that maybe if it's put into a graph form, your
Or
problems will clean up.
if you have a solution to it. That's what I really want, not just this is my problem. What I want is this is
Remedy.
my problem. And I think this might be the solution to it. That's what I'm really, really looking
Right.
for.
I'm calling it remedy after toll and
Yeah,
roll.
remedy is good.
Basically, again, you can't just sit there and say the whole system's fucked up from head to toe, collapse it. That's it. Congress, you're going to take it away. No, you
Well,
got
you
to tell
can't say that.
you got to tell them how to fix the
How to
system.
do it is
And
much more
again,
effective.
our impression right now, because there's been so many misleading facts of what's going on here. But again, Kathleen is looking for a collapse of the system. She's looking for a rebuild and only keeping the good state actors and state players that have a proven track record to reunify the family, because that was the intent. The 1938 Social Security Act, if you look at the purpose is to keep the family intact. And again, how it's gotten changed in 75 years, we know it's been since 1979 through our conversations with Kathleen, roughly. Right? That's when it all started flaring up.
In 1996 is when the Clintons wrote the ASPA into the child welfare foster care issue, and that's when things started going south. And then also when the child support bill was first written, that's when it started going south, but not so bad with child support because child support at first was only an entitlement and only the poor dads had to pay child support. I can't remember when it was, but it was not that long ago. And that means like maybe 20 years ago at my age. But they lifted the entitlement to foster care or to child support, and they let the state go after anybody. And that is when the
Shit,
horrible
man.
shit hit the fan because they went from just a little bit. You look at the charts, how much money the states used to bring in from child support. It was just a little bit of money. It wasn't really very much. But boy, when they opened it up to everybody, man, they just started making fist over fist of dollars from the misery of people getting divorced.
Now, what Connecticut's doing too, just to let you know, they want to change the child support guidelines to go from net to gross income.
Yeah, I
They
want
don't
them
want
to get away with it. Leave the guidelines alone. These are things best left to parents. They don't set the terms of the mortgage when
well,
people get divorced. Why the
my
hell
feeling is
should they set the terms of
like
the child
gross.
support? It's none of
They
their business.
they can get gross. They can get turn around and now get an extra, let's just say $4,000 a month of house bills that were written off before. So that's
Yeah,
$4,000 more that they can say, oh, look what we're doing is
yeah.
calculated that way. And again, it's so crazy that I've even heard in Connecticut that GAL's bill has been put under 4D funding. It's been now mandated that the state paid off the GAL, and then now the parents got to put payments to the state to pay back that GAL. Is
I
that
believe that.
possible?
In
Is that
other words, what we want to do, we can't do it with the foster care stuff because there are legitimately some children that will need some help at some time. Child support, on the other hand, is something we can immediately just terminate the way that is currently collected, switch over to advanced directives, and then just have mediation. We need to stop all of this bullshit. We have to stop giving the state one nickel
Yep.
for assistance with this. It needs to be not per dollar collected, but the mediation needs to be funded not by the way that it has been, but the mediation needs to be funded by population. If there's X amount of population in the state, they get X amount of dollars for mediation, period.
Period.
No bonuses for collecting more money and encouraging divorces so that the state can get money. We have
And
got to stop
mediators,
this awful, awful, awful cycle.
the
It's
mediators are from each
cannibalistic.
side of the parents, meaning the husband side and the mother side. They can't do
Right.
it. Then you send those two people in the room and decide for them. We, as the people, should not be involved inside of matters that we have no insights to that family. And let it be. You're an Italian family or an Irish family
Yeah.
or a black family or even an immigrant family. That
Whatever their cultural
you're,
beliefs
you're
or
right.
beliefs.
We have no
One
idea what.
family will want the mom to stay home for, until the kid's 18, basically. Another
Right.
family, the mom wants to go to work the second she's birthed that baby, she's out of there. So, in terms of like how much support the mother needs during the child raising years, is individual family matters that need to be decided by the family. Now, there's a bunch of talk about 50-50 parenting out there,
Yeah.
which is I like the concept, except for 50-50 parenting. If you got a chart of 100 numbers, you're only going to hit 50-50 one out of 100 times if you throw a dart at it,
Right.
which means that some parents want like the mom to have the child 60% of the time and the dad 40% of the time, and then they adjust that within their own. And then as far as the children goes, maybe for the first 2 or 3 years the mom's staying at home, and then they adjust it at that time. These are the things that will be in the advance directive that they can either check off or not, and it's totally voluntary, but it has to be honored by the state. They cannot drag you in and say, no, we have our own chart of money that you need to pay to each other. That's none of their freaking business, and not the way they want to raise their children. So we need to take the government out. It has no business in child support. The government does not regulate our mortgage payments that we own a house together once a divorce occurs. The government should not be regulating how we are going to be raising our children and where we're going to be prioritizing our money in order to raise these children. And again, we do absolutely need to have some sort of a method to where if a change has occurred, like somebody ends up in prison or flips and becomes, like a
No,
psycho. And
right.
you need to have abilities to change the advance directive, but we need the original ability to have control over our own lives and our children's lives and how we are going to raise them and not have governmental interference unless there is a crime committed.
Now, why do you say it should be voluntary basis? I think
All
if
right.
you're
The reason is because if we did a advance directive that was not voluntary in the hospital, people would be pissed. As a matter of fact, it was suggested at first that it was not voluntary, that everybody had to sign an advance directive saying what they want to happen, and that was met with great resistance. And I don't blame them. I get to choose whether I get to choose or not. I mean, that's just part of choice. The other thing is, if you think about it, if you sign this voluntarily at the time of either the birth of a child or it'll be offered to you, like in the hospital, we have to offer the advance directive for healthcare, but they do not have to sign it. So at the time of marriage and at the time of the birth of the child, this form will be offered. They do not have to fill it out. But here's what's going to happen: it's offered separately both to the father and to the mother. The dads will probably fill it out, right?
oh yeah.
Most likely, because they
Wait a
usually
minute.
have the ones that have
We
the most
fill
to
it out.
lose as
We
far
fill
as.
it out if we're
So,
invited
so,
to fill it out.
but then the mom will think, well, maybe I should fill it out. And then we'll make it to where they can also fill it out at any time too. But by making it voluntary, I cannot imagine a world where it wouldn't be a voluntary thing. Really, we have to let the parents make their own choice because they always
I
make
would
the
think it'd be
choices.
part of.
Sometimes they're not ready to make a choice, but to have them have the ability, if the circumstances occur that all of a sudden maybe they believe they will never get divorced and they never need to fill something out.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
later on, it might happen that they do, but this
47%
will be
of
their
marriages
choice at that
fail
time.
divorce.
We don't need to force it on them. Circumstances might, but
Right.
the government doesn't need to force it on them.
Right. And again, I believe 47% of marriages are going to happen in failure. So
Yeah,
why
they
not
do.
be part of the marriage license?
Well, here's the deal. This is another argument for it. When you do a marriage license, that is a contract.
Right.
That is a contract that fails 50% of the time. People should not sign contracts without contingency clauses if they know that the contract is going to probably fail 50% of the time. It's just prudent good sense.
Wow. I mean, I know, but people like to do their whim things and let's go to Vegas and get married,
Yeah,
type
and that's
crazy.
cool.
And
We're not going to change that behavior,
right,
But
right.
if you get married in Vegas, they're offered this, they just said not to, maybe a year later, they realize this was a big mistake. At that point, they can fill it out and it will be honored. And if there are any discrepancies between the male and female choice or whoever, that would be mediation then. And as long as the mediation, it does not have any financial gain for the divorce or the funds that are being exchanged within the divorce as a neutral uh, body, which they already have tons of mediation in different forms, and
Right.
they're very successful. That will take care of it. And then again, if there's a crime committed, they need to go to criminal court.
Now, is there any way that we can get the federal government to finally describe what the best interest is of the child?
If two parents could decide on what the best interest of a child is, then perhaps we could. But there is no definition of the best interest of the child because that's different in every family.
I mean, absent, again, it should be real simple words. Absent true harm and abuse, the child has a right to both parents.
Yeah, and abuse is a vague term. We need to have just simple terms like, a child is automatically equally belonging to both parents when it's born. I mean, nobody gets divvies over one parent over the other. Breastfeeding moms are not more of a parent than non-breastfeeding dads. I mean, that
Right.
doesn't count. And so we just need to come at it neutrally and not attacking. What my great fear is now, and I've talked to Robert Gaza about this a little bit, is that in the Title 4D world, unlike the world of foster care, there does seem to be like a war brewing, males against the females.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of really ugly legislation going out there that is going to be very abusive toward one sex or the other. And that is just really, really happening bad out in the,
Well, I get the point
4D
why
world.
men are looked at as nothing more than wallets for women right now and their children.
And
I'm
vice
not
versa. I mean, there's a
in
lot
Georgia, I
the
believe.
men are mad at the women and the women are mad at the men, but they're both mad at the wrong person.
Right.
It's because the government is interfering and making them do this, that, or the other thing that
Well,
it is occurring.
The AG of Georgia just came out and said that this is wrong, that a woman can actually have a child and never tell the man. You know what I mean? I just think it's wrong because that kind of happened to me, and then my child got benefits too, and they did not come and find me to be the responsible payee. And then that's when Nathan got the double dose of MMR shot because of the government's interference, and that's when my child dropped out. But I'm being asked, have you ever talked to Allie Carter? Brenda would like to know that. Allie,
I don't think so. That doesn't sound familiar.
I don't know who she is either. If Brenda could tell us a little bit more on that subject, I don't know. But I mean, again, guys, there's so many ways to approach this that it's evenly. It should not be male versus woman. It should not be this is my child and only my child. It's again, the parents got to be both there because you're both there. You're making up that child, and I'm sorry, your inherent disabilities are going to go transform into that child.
Children need their fathers, and every single child welfare bill, other than one that I helped to write, the Family First Act, every other child welfare bill in America requires a father to move out in order to get assistance. Period. We need to stop that.
It's wrong. And again, this whole narcissist game, I just don't even get the shit narcissist game. That's just a word everybody's throwing around.
Like I tell everybody, you cannot regulate or make a law against narcissism, but you can make a law or regulate actions.
Well,
So,
coercive control or retaliation would be the more appropriate words, in my opinion.
mhm.
Where again,
And again, look at the reason why there's control and retaliation. I believe that it's the structure of the child support system that brings out the worst in people. And these are two people who are already not getting along. Obviously, they're getting divorced. And then the child support shit with all the stupid, rules that they've got and jumps you have to go through does not improve upon their ability to get along with each other.
well, I think
And
too. And also, you
it's
got lawyers.
awful. And the children are the ones who are being harmed,
You
period,
got
by that.
lawyers whispering in the guy's ear saying, "If you don't go after her, she's gonna fuck you." And then on the other
Well,
hand, you
that's how
got
they get their
lawyers
money.
for
Yeah.
her. If you don't go after
So
him, he's gonna fuck you.
we need lawyerless divorces that, people can mediate themselves, keep the government, keep anybody out of it who's going to profit from your divorce. If anybody is profiting in any way from your divorce, try to leave them out of it.
And if you can't
Period.
to somebody who's going to be in your life for the next 18 years, that's pretty damn sad. You know what I mean? Where I would be writing down 3 names per side, 6 people, put them in a goddamn room, figure out the best interest of that child. And again, that's that easy. And it can be done at your house, legally form up the contract, and then now bring it to the court. Anyone deviates, the court now has the right to enforce a tort claim or a breach of contract. That would be my opinion. And again, I talked to you earlier about it where France, they say, hey, you got to have a house in a room. You got to have a house in a room. When the child goes there, you're feeding them. When the child goes there, you're feeding them. Other than that, you're splitting all the medical costs, educational costs. When I say educational costs, all kids want to belong to the ski team, soccer teams, anything that's going to promote their skills in life, that the parents need to buckle down normally and say, you know what? We want to push Johnny on that subject because we want Johnny to be a star baseball player because he's got talent, or to be a ballet thing. But when it gets down to it, I don't care if Johnny's wearing a pink tutu. It ain't our tax-paying dollar problem. You know what I mean? That's the family core problem. That's my.
We need to just A, get the government out, and then B, give the families choices. For example, there are some dads that want to be super involved in this and that. Maybe you got a dad who doesn't want to be involved and he says, hey, you know what? I'll give you a lump sum $250,000 payment for the kid for the entire life. Done. I mean, we need to have inventive, unusual solutions. If you were like just minding your own business, going about, your life, and all of a sudden, boom, you're in a car accident that you didn't really want to be in, even though you might be because you're, driving a car, there's insurance options for that. I'd like to know why we don't have insurance for unwanted pregnancies,
Well, don't even get me going on that.
we can be very inventive and not look at this as this is a way to get parents to basically argue more with each other and the states to make money off of it. We can do it and take all of those. It's hard enough to get a divorce without having the government, coming in and really screwing things up. Our children are paying the price and we need them to just stop it.
Right. And I mean, on that unplanned pregnancies, and it's weird though, Kathleen, it seems like that number, like you say, is so high. Oh, I didn't know I was getting pregnant. Oh, I didn't. But yet the facts are there's so many couples I know today that are trying to have kids and they can't, damn it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't seem fair, but that's the way it is.
Fair to me. And again, there's so many people that would love these kids. And again, the whole timeline, I'm not going to even go into 9-month pregnancy terminations. That's just wrong in itself. This is not 1958. We know birth happens or life happens when the sperm enters the egg. So why aren't we calling that life right then and there and then start figuring out what we're going to do with that life? It's just, why are people waiting the 9 months to make that decision on what we should be doing with our children? It just doesn't make sense to me, some of these people's priorities. It's really weird. And I don't know how to legislate it other than like what we're talking about tonight. There has to be ideas. There has to be contracts. There has to be, again, a
It's
writing of
it's easier now than it used to be. I mean, frankly, the way child support is set up, they don't even use DNA. Can you believe that?
no,
The
they swap
five
me. They
top
swap.
like goals that they have for states for child support collection, one of them is to establish paternity, and
Right.
they spend tons of money on this particular element. And they could just use DNA, but DNA wasn't even invented when they wrote this.
Back
So
then.
who is in charge of this? Who's supposed to be like updating the criterias that they're supposed to be meeting and stuff? It's just laziness on the legislators'
I mean,
part.
I think that's what it is in the state of Georgia. A male does not have the right to ask for a DNA test on the baby that was just born by. That's wrong.
That's
It's
wrong.
so
It is
wrong.
wrong.
It ain't even funny, and that should tell the courts right there, or
Mhm.
somebody, that this woman's going to be vindictive again. And again, if he's so bad, why did you have sex with him? You know what I mean? And they don't say it's a one night stand.
Let's not get into judgment. Stuff
I'm just
happens.
saying, you
Unless you're a
gotta
virgin,
grow up.
I don't want to
People
hear
gotta
about,
grow up. People gotta grow up.
the night before
Sex
stuff.
are.
Bottom line is, when a child is born now, used to be that women were left carrying the bag because we could not prove that the guy was the
And I
father.
admit that in the
That
40s,
is now
60s.
not the case, and it takes two to tango. And we
Right,
know who the father is now, but
right,
the state's not letting us find out and not allowing the fathers to find out because they get paid to do it a different way that gets them more money in the end. So
absolutely.
if they just did the DNA, and I mean, it doesn't matter if it was a one night stand or if you've been married for 50 years, you still got a kid, to raise. And so
Family.
that is what we need to concentrate on and make sure
Right.
that that child gets the best care, irregardless of its circumstances of
And,
birth.
and again, I look at when the 1938 Social Security Act was made, and looked at it back then, where yes, the man was the only one working in the house. I get the point of it all, but today, since I would say the mid 70s, if you want to get ahead in life for your family, and that's what it's about, your family, again, the child, the best interest of your child. Both parents need to work and try to really fight and try to achieve to give their children more opportunities.
I
So
don't necessarily agree with that, but go ahead.
I just my theory. I mean, the
Yeah.
happier families that I see are the ones that have summer homes. The ones that have an extra budget in their money to spend a certain way,
Mhm.
versus the one that's
So a
struggling.
lot of the folks that I know, family wise, are much simpler than that. They just want to be able to, raise their children the way that they see fit. And that does not always mean that mom works. Sometimes it does for their family, sometimes it doesn't.
Right,
But again, this is an individual choice. Not everybody wants a second home. Some people just
right,
want the mom to stay home and raise the children and homeschool and stuff, but it doesn't matter. We need to allow them to do whatever their family structure choice is and
right.
stop the government interference that is prejudicing a predetermined outcome that is not good.
Well, where I was getting to was, now when you get a divorce, both parents now have to work 80 hours a week just to put a home and a roof over their kids' head for what little bit of time they have with their children. I mean, it's crazy on how many
There,
parents are
there is no
paying.
denying that once you get divorces, you have to have two households. The problem is that if the dad is just supporting the mom, then he doesn't have room in his house because he can't afford an apartment to keep the kids.
Right,
So it needs to be whatever it is, what the parents want to have happen and what their version of correct upbringing of the children.
right.
And it's going to be 1,000 different people, 1,000 different ways. We just need to allow for those choices. If they're not harmful to the child in terms of criminal whatever, we need to let the parents decide, because there are just not only are there going to be 1,000 different options, but there's going to be 1,000 different times along the path of life that they'll probably change. But those are predictable changes and paths, and there are only so many options that you have in order to, arrange your lifestyle around how you want to raise your children. And so we just need to account for those and allow for those, because that is the best for children.
All right. Brenda's giving this. Allie has finally got some good investigations going. She was trafficked through CPS victims and sexually assaulted by Biden and Prince Andrew. So that's who that person, I believe, Allie Carter was her name. So again, I don't know, Brenda, how to reach out, but I mean, if she's got ideas, she's welcome to send them to Kathleen. How to fix the system. That's what it has to be. We don't want to hear the story. We know the story that people are getting abused. We want to say, well, if you eliminate this type funding and you open this type funding, then you'll end up opening the door so that children will not be abused in this certain way. That's what she's looking for when we're saying, concepts and ideas and data from us. So again, I don't know, but I mean, listen, I think we flushed out a lot tonight, and I mean, I would love to still go with you if you want to go, because I know Darren's backstage and he would love to talk to you too, and I'm sure he's waiting to chew at the bits to say a few things to you.
Sure.
So I don't know if Darren's around or not, but come on in, brother, because if not, we're gonna pretty much say we can always bring Kathleen back, and again. There's my friend. Hey, we got to have a mic on, Darren.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Because she's been going at it pretty good for 2 hours here, and she's waiting very patiently to go play with Mickey Mouse with her grandkids, I believe.
They're not here until tomorrow, so this is the only peace and quiet I'm going to have for 3 days. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she needs to be rested up. But yeah, I mean, overall, things sound like they're on the up and up. I mean, I'm a firm believer of just full on. We need to abolish this and then recreate a system, and that's it's just getting the people that are trying to, fix or let's add to this. That's all they're doing. But one question I did want to ask you is this: what if we just change the words adoption to reunification?
Well, because some people adopt children and it's not a reunification, right?
Right, but I'm saying, like, in an overall way, to take away this way, it lets everybody still keep their rods in the fire. They all get their money, their pockets get full, the caseworkers get their bonuses.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Instead of saying you get funded, you get bonuses for adoption, or this, let's do this, because Title IV funding, you're not even supposed to get Title IV funding if that's the case, right? It's supposed to be reunification is on the table until a certain point.
Unfortunately,
so they've changed it.
Incorrect.
Now they've changed it.
Title IV funding is almost always, actually, it is exclusively to take the child away. That's the entire structure of it. Family First Act and Title IV funding are the only reunification fundings. They do not have fundings to reunificate the family. They get paid to take classes over and over again, but those classes do not reunify the family. If they did, they would have some positive results, but those classes and the services that they provide are not with the goal of reunification. They really are with the goal of just stringing things out long enough so that they can get to the point of adopting out the child, because that is the way the federal funds are worded.
So
why couldn't we
make reunification as the priority versus adoption?
That was what the Family First Act was. When I was working with Senator Orrin Hatch and Senator Wyden, the Family First Act was supposed to replace the ASFA, which is the bonus. And what happened is, instead of the one bill getting through that would be switching things over from bonuses for removal to funding for reunification, was split in two, and both bills were allowed to stand. So now you have one pool of funds that are just for foster care. And then you have another set of funds that are just for reunification. And the children who get the foster care funds have to qualify. They have to be entitled. And what that means is that in order to get reimbursed from the federal government to the state, the child has to be either poor or disabled. And the reason why it's gotten so much worse since the Family First Act was passed is because now we have two pools of money. Used to be the only social workers only had one pool of money. They could only pick on the poor kids and the disabled money. Well, now with the Family First Act, they've got another pool of money for reunification that they can take the non-poor parents' children. So because we let the monster in the cage, it has gotten worse, not better.
And they've done that by saying that this could be potential harm. So by potential harm, this is how they're kicking down the doors of even wealthy families.
It's nothing having to do with anything having to do with due process. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Well, that's why they're trying to. Well, like in New Hampshire, Henry was saying that they were eliminating the family court. Well, that's all they're doing is eliminating that family court. They're pushing everything now and putting it into superior court, district court, and so on and so forth. So not getting rid
by
of
putting it into superior court and district court, you've taken it out of the family court model, which allows for hearsay. Family courts allow lying. Family courts allow planning evidence. Family courts allow testimony from anonymous sources. I mean, it's really kind of Nazi-like, you know?
So
By taking whatever it is that's going on in the family court and putting it in a criminal or superior court, you're going to have a higher level of due process. You have to have a warrant to break into somebody's house.
Correct.
In all courts except for family court. Only family court would be surprised if you got a warrant to do that.
And juvenile court, we'll say.
And juvenile court is family court too. They're both allow hearsay, period.
Right.
So they need to be eliminated in any way, shape, or form. I don't know the structure in which they're doing it. In other words, are they still allowing the administrative hearing rules within the superior court, which would be weird because then they'd be crossing a hybrid kind of a situation because most of the administrative court stuff is absolute garbage too. So I'd have to really look at that. But that sounds interesting that they're at least working in that direction.
Are you familiar with HB 682? I think it was, Darren, right? New Hampshire's HB 682.
Yeah, I don't really get too much
That's
into
the
state
second
bills
time
and
around.
really keep up with the federal ones.
Well, they seem to be making headway. And Arizona, I would think, would be another state that would be such a strong state to be looking at. Because
Henry, hold up. I want to clarify this right now. I just want to read this part right here. That it's section 671A15 of Title 4E that says requires the state to demonstrate reasonable efforts towards family preservation and reunification to qualify for federal payments. This is a prerequisite for funding under Title 4E, but it does not tie the reimbursement directly to successful reunifications as an incentive mechanism. So that's straight out of Title 4E.
What they're saying is that, in theory, we do want to reunify that. And they actually do state that in all of the safety plans. But in action and in reality, the actions are documentable.
Of course.
Is not. Yeah.
Right. So my point with this is this makes it very easy to prove fraud, or this is just BS when you get your kids, when they have your kids for the first 12 months, they're like reunification, and then they go bang right to adoption. You're like, where the hell did this come from? Well, it came because their time was up.
Yeah, it's when you enter into the family court system, you're toast. You have no help from no one.
Right.
No one wants to get their fingers wet in that pool of cess because they know what happens. Right now in Congress, whenever a specific House member or a specific Senate member goes after HHS, they are outnumbered and out-battled and out-weaponed. They are literally funding HHS to out-lawyer them about 1,000 to 1 because each office only has so many resources. And so whenever one senator ever tries to go after anything that's going on, they're wiped out in a battle. They because of the power of the purse, they have allowed their person who they're supposed to be controlling to have more weapons than they do, and they're losing.
Right. They have no purse. They have a freaking infinite amount of money. Like they have, and I've told
You
everybody
have no
this.
idea
Nobody laughs
what
at-
the purse is.
Right.
It's really
Everybody,
bad.
exactly. They only tell us what we think we know. That's it. And like I say always, this doesn't account for the nurses that, get $1,000 for calling DHS and saying, hey, look, there's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby here, and the mom's on drugs now, so come get this baby, even though the mom's not on drugs or any of that. It doesn't account for any of that fraud money, the judge payments, any of that stuff. The doctors, like Maine, for instance, where I'm from, they have $3 million open check, wide open check that they can give to any doctor or medical procedure office that they find fit that helps them in their processes or whatever. $3 million. I don't know where you're from. I call that a bribe, right? So if you go, hey, doctor, make sure that this woman's never sane or these people never come out or their drug tests are always false. Here you go. Here's $3 million for your office. Thank you very much. This is just ridiculous. And if we actually took all the funding away, it would collapse our economy. I truly believe that. If they took every dollar that is put into this system and tried to manipulate it or whatever, you wouldn't even get all of it out there between the rental properties, the traveling, the gas cards, all of this stuff. I mean, this is a giant machine that people don't understand. And this is where I don't even get this, is where are the people that aren't involved in CPS that aren't seeing this? And why aren't they out here helping us? Because that's the problem. We're all lunatics. We lost our kids. They're crazy, pissed off parents. They're just lunatics. They're probably on drugs. They're this, they're that, they're this. That's what we're all considered. So we don't have the power that they need. But I'll tell you what we are stupid about is we are so dumb to not realize there are millions of us. There are millions and millions and millions of us affected by CPS. And if we could all get our heads out of our asses for just 2 minutes at election time and put all of our heads together, we would vote out any son of a bitch in that office. So they could have all the lawyers they want. They could have all the things they wanted because the power of the vote is still the most powerful thing that we have in this country. And if we were just smarten up enough to know that there's 100 million of us that barely even voted in that last election, but we could have 100 million strong that have been affected by CPS, go into those voting booths and vote, they're fucked. That's what needs to happen this next election. That's the only way we're going to make this thing do something.
We've used a strategy that's similar to that, but slightly different in the past to have bills passed. And what we do is we get a bill like the Family First Act, and then we have a big rally in DC and we invite all the parents and we tell them to see their senators. And then we just really, come back 2 or 3 times and just really hit it hard. And that is really not done very often, but boy, it makes such a huge impact. So, there are different strategies, to get our voice to be heard in a communal way. We need to get past the fighting and the disagreement stuff, which is why I'm doing the stone soup stuff, which is I have my opinions on this, that, or the other thing, right? That it should be this way or it should be that way. But I am not writing this bill. I'm letting everybody write this bill so that everybody's opinions and thoughts of how it should go are all in there. That's when I was young, I used to think that I know it all and I would make my decisions based upon that. But as I get older, I realize that by asking for advice from people, especially people with different points of view, I get a much better product in terms of what's going on and how to fix things. So that is basically what I'm doing right now. And I've been working with legislators for so many years that, I'm just kind of able to pop by and show them the ideas and we work with it. It's sort of formal, sort of informal, but it works.
Yeah, you're kind of an important person, no doubt. I mean, I hear your name all the time. Your name comes up quite a bit, actually. But I don't want to hold you any longer. I'm sure you're exhausted.
I do, because I want to make one recommendation. I would like to nominate my friend Darren Guay, who had his bill stolen in 22 and revamped to be unconstitutional by Francesca Amata. And I would like to be able to send that to you as a light little reading for you, because I think it's a great building base for Grassley's office if he truly wants to amend this and make it where it's not about an adoption, it's about truly reunifying the problems of the family. Again, if the family needs housing, give them housing. If the family needs this, give them that. Again, my feeling is I'm seeing a lot of people with disabilities being attacked, and they cannot achieve Olmsted because, again, they have Down syndrome, and people look down on them and say, "Oh, you're not good enough to be a parent." So they're always having to watch their parental rights, and it's disgusting what I see, the torture of Connecticut and the amount of money that they're spending on these social workers that have no clue is just absolutely insane. They don't even have the effective ADA training. They don't even have policies and procedures of modifications. They don't have nothing. So again, I would ask you, would you mind if we send you his bill? Because I think you'll find it's going to be similar to Francesca's, but it's going to reach to the constitutional point that we are all looking for. Francesca reworked it for her needs, and her needs is to push her agenda of, yeah, I want 60% women and 40% men, but I ain't bigoted against men. Well, listen, I believe 50-50. The child should be freely going back and forth to the house if possible. And again, it'd be great if parents could afford to live in the same town. We know that's unreasonable, but there's got to be means to do it. You know what I mean? Let it be, I can't take him today. You got to pick him up from my house and bring him to school. Something has to be done. And again, I'm nominating Darren and anyone else that's in the audience that's been putting up some good messages. Please type something. Give us the remedy to your problems and let her push it through the AI. I assume you're using AI, right? To
Actually, I can honestly say that I am the last person to not use AI in the entire world.
Right.
I have already pre-written almost everything that I'm still generating pre-AI. I'm using AI for grammar checks and to gather more data, but the stuff that I've written was pre-AI, almost all of it. I mean, AI I just started using maybe 6 months ago.
Wow.
You know what's great? They have this Coursera offers this thing for people over 40 that it's 15
I wouldn't
minutes a day.
qualify for that then.
Well, you're you're right. I'm sorry. My bad. Never ask a woman their age. I myself is over 40. I myself am over 40, and this is for all the parents out there that might be. They offer a great thing that's like 15 minutes a day, and it goes through all the different AIs.
I've seen
Yeah, it's really good. It's really cool.
Yeah.
You learn so much about it. I did it, and I passed, so that was good. And I suggest everybody take that thing because it's really cool. It teaches you everything you need about ADA.
I'm very cautious with AI. AI has told me some freaking whoppers before. So I assume AI is lying to me every time I ask it something, and I verify it thoroughly. And that's been a very good practice. AI is very good at giving you data and ideas. Very good at that. But you have to take them all with a grain of salt and absolutely check everything because really, literally, there's one or two AIs out there in particular that consistently gives wrong information. And so you do have to be careful with it, but it is a great tool. It really is.
But I was
we have ours that's
tracking things. Is incredible. It really does track things that you forget about, and that's about the only thing. So again, when you guys are writing up, any plans or anything like that, my feeling is just run it through, like you said, grammar at least.
Yeah. And also I always check things like nowadays when people send me through, I put it through AI to verify if it's correct or not. And then if it gives me questionable results, I'll throw it through another one, And that is very helpful because a lot of times you have no idea what if is being stated has any grounding in truth. And the more bizarre they are, sometimes the more true they are. And AI will help you figure out what is good data and what is not as much as you can.
Right. Yep. So Darren's bill's not copyrighted, so you can tweak it any way you want.
Yeah, we'll get it to you.
I like that one, Darren. I'm giving away your shit already.
Yeah, hey Henry, I wrote you a good new song too for the end of this. So
all right. So anyways, anytime you want, you can come back on, guys. Tomorrow night's Full and Roll Zoom meeting. If you're not aware, I would say let's find out an update from Billy and the crew. because again, I know for a fact you went in there and pulled out some Title IV stuff and you guys rewrote, and I didn't even get to it tonight. I want to address that, but it's just great having you here and sharing this information with everybody because you're setting the record straight. I was tired of hearing everyone saying reform. She's only about reform. Ban her, ban her. Well, now you heard it from the damn horse's mouth. She ain't. She's about collapse.
Well, reform does also mean get rid of, right? I mean, and be synonymous.
Keep cleaning up reforms where they've gotten better at the manipulation. That's all it's giving them is the tools. Where my feeling is if we crash the system, rewrite how the funding's going, that the funding has to go towards reunification, that the funding has like max, and again, where I believe, again, you know, a national standard, 18 months. Not this bullshit of 6 months in some of these states. I'm fortunate to have 18 months because, again, you know, they can just terminate you after 18 months. After 6 months is ridiculous. And again, that's not even enough time to get sober and then reintroduce yourself back to your child if you were that person who was drinking and being abusive while you were drunk.
Or those people, let's say that you shoplifted and you got 6 months of jail. You know, there are constitutional protections against unusual punishments. And if you shoplift, you should not lose your children.
No. I mean, I was in family court the other day, and not criminal court, sorry, because it was a ticket. And the girl was telling me she got a DWI, but she wasn't over the limit. And because her daughter was down in the back seat, she's endangering her daughter. Well, if there's problems at home, where do you go when you don't have the money to pay for a hotel room? And again, if the car was running and the gas was it, you know what I mean? I don't get how she'd be even charged. And she looked like a great mom trying to do right by her child to get out of the situation that she put herself in. Meaning she went with Johnny Star or whatever, and he turned out not to be a star. So again, how do you correct those things? And again, I believe it's about the best interest of the child.
Right. And there's been a great cultural shift for whatever reason that I can't explain. 20 years, if, you know, cops found some woman with a couple kids living in a car, they would get together and get her resources and give her car. You know, they would try to help her. I know that they would because I lived back then.
Right.
Nowadays, if a woman's in a car with a couple of children, they arrest her for child abuse.
Right.
She's being arrested for poverty. What the hell is wrong with our society these days to where we have women living in cars with children with no other options? I mean, we really need to take a serious look at the imbalance that's occurring between, you know, people with lived life on the ground experience and those who are making the decisions for us who have no clue as to the reality of life.
Kathleen,
on the ground as it's occurring.
I know one person personally right now. She got death benefits for her children from her husband. Another state took her children, will not return them back because now they've claimed the death benefits as a payment, and now they're going to go after her for child support on top of it.
Kennedy just actually initiated, no, it was Alex under Kennedy, that they are no longer able to take the children's death benefits, that they have to now put them in an account for the child for when they go out of foster care. So, yeah, the state will steal money from anybody at any time for any reason, and it is an awful scenario. Can you imagine losing your children and you didn't do anything wrong, and then they want you to pay child support to them while you're trying to keep your house in order to get your kids back? They make it impossible. It's by design. It's awful. It has got to change. But I have to go because
I will. You know, honestly, if you haven't figured me out, I will talk. I'm the one that will go marathons. I love marathons because I'm just a talker, and I think because now we've set the record straight. And if people do not start backing, and if you don't get a couple hundred people joining the group of Stone Soup by the end of the week, please call me. I'll have to bitch next weekend and find out why. Now the record.
Okay, and we're just now really starting the Stone Soup. We've got a little like a Facebook page, but we're really planning a big launch here pretty soon with it, and so we're doing some.
You need help from us. And stuff. As you see, you just met the #1 graphic artist I've met in my life. He designs our own songs. He designs all the graphics here. So if you need something, I'm putting
Okay,
Darren out
cool.
there
Thank
again.
you very much.
I don't
That's
care.
great.
You will have his bill by the end of the day, raw,
Oh, cool.
untampered from Francesca, the real McCoy, because she changed that so hard. And again, we call for dissolve and then rebuilt with the primary purpose of the parent. That is what we, and if it's not parents, then let's go to the next living relative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, family. It's called family. You know, hello.
Well, again, my family world today too could be a neighbor that could be your child's like adopted mother. But it was great meeting you again, everyone. If you ain't happy with what you heard tonight, because I'm ecstatic, I can't wait for more. Welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Rock and roll it, guys. Get us out of here. Wrap it up for the night.
Under law, demanding more. Hardcore American, fist to the sky, fist to the sky. Stand on your right, never comply, never comply. Support the 88, hey, hey, hey. Let freedom ring, abolish CPS, clip their wings, equal and the same. Vodka truth we claim, united we stand in liberty's name. In liberty's name. Whoa. Rights forever. Whoa. CPS never. CPS storming in, tearing families apart. False claims and power plays, breaking every heart. Kids ripped from homes, no due process in sight. We abolitionists rally, turn wrong into right. From the farms to the courts, we expose the lies. Parental rights sacred under American skies. They a backbone for the blind, deaf, and bold. No discrimination, stories untold. Wheelchair rebels, mental health nights. We grind through the system, igniting the fight. Hardcore American. Fist to the sky. Stand on your right. Never comply. Support the 88. Let freedom ring. Abolish CPS. Clip their wings. Equal and the same. Podcast truth we claim. United we stand. In liberty's name. In liberty's never. Listen up, patriots on equal and the same. We talk real talk, no shame in the game. Rights ain't optional, they're etched in stone. Haters shields us, CPS overthrown. From sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Hardcore forever, wearing that crown. Truck stop philosophers, courtroom gladiators, podcasts, revolutionaries, truth liberators. Stand firm on your ground, don't let them invade. Aid of justice, CPS brigade. We're the voice of the voiceless, to fight in the dark. American hardcore, leaving a mark. No surrender, no retreat, we own this land. Rights in our blood, united we stand.